This presentation by my co-workers and I is on the highlights of the fourth year of the implementation of the National Biodiversity Management Plan for Pickersgill's reed frog. The Biodiversity Management Plan, or BMP, was gazetted in June 2017 by the then Minister of Environmental Affairs. The overall goal of the BMP is to improve the conservation status of Pickersgill's reed frog and improve its protection through applied conservation action. The BMP has 5 objectives. The first is to create and maintain an enabling environment for appropriate management actions to be carried out to ensure the survival of Pickersgill's reed frog in the wild. The second is to prioritize the key habitats for Pickersgill's reed frog for conservation management interventions based on a variety of criteria. The third is to implement habitat management activities through agreements with landowners to mitigate land use impacts and to secure sites that may become important in the future in terms of mitigating the impacts of climate change on Pickersgill's reed frog. The fourth is to conduct research, both in the wild and in captivity, to guide the conservation management of the frog species and its habitat, to implement monitoring of the species population in the wild, to increase the size of the population, and to make adaptive changes when necessary. The fifth is to develop an awareness and educational campaign to improve the knowledge of the public about Pickersgill's reed frog and the importance of its habitats. Under each objective are a number of operational goals, and under each operational goal are a number of actions. This slide is just an example of an operational goal and an action under the operational goal. In this presentation, we are going to highlight some of the actions that were accomplished during the fourth year of implementation of the BMP, and then take an overview look at progress to date in attaining these operational goals and in achieving the actions set out in the plan. Regarding the action to get priority areas for Pickersgill's reed frog into municipal systematic planning processes, spatial layers for municipalities in which the distribution range of Pickersgill's reed frog falls have been developed. These indicate the wetlands where Pickersgill's reed frogs have already been recorded, as well as linkages between the wetlands and buffers to the wetlands. The linkages and buffers were demarcated using the latest land cover map by the presence of land cover classes that were considered traversable by Pickersgill's reed frogs. Visual inspection of satellite imagery was also used in the digitization of the linkages and buffers, as indicated on the slide. Where possible, linkage widths were 250 meters or more. In the example shown, the known distribution records for Pickersgill's reed frog are indicated by red dots and the associated wetlands by light blue polygons. The linkages and buffers are indicated by the light semi-transparent polygons. We have had some success in getting some elements of these layers into some of the spatial development frameworks. We hope to obtain further progress in this regard in the revised spatial development frameworks to avoid the destruction of habitat that might happen through the implementation of uninformed planning. The KwaZulu-Natal wetland coverage did not include all the wetlands where Pickersgill's reed frogs have been recorded, so we added these wetlands to the wetland coverage. The predicted distribution model for Pickersgill's reed frog was included in the National Environmental Impact Assessment, or EIA, screening tool. The latter helps ensure that the species can be looked for in potentially suitable habitat prior to authorization of certain human activities that may detrimentally affect the species. This slide indicates the further progress that has been made towards protecting areas where Pickersgill's reed frogs occur, and that there is local public support for such protection. We hope that all the planning measures mentioned so far will safeguard habitat of Pickersgill's reed frog in the long term. Habitat management activities undertaken included the clearing of nearly 350 hectares of land of alien plants at sites where Pickersgill's reed frogs occur. 40 local people were employed to carry out this work. Ecological goods and services data indicate that the health of the wetlands monitored has gradually increased over the years. The insurance population kept at Joburg Zoo has done well, even though a reinforcement with 30 additional breeders failed, owing to them being infected by parasites while in a somewhat polluted wetland. The captive population continues to be free of chytrid fungus. A study of the microbiome of the species has commenced. A comparison of the composition of the microbiomes of Pickersgill's reed frogs from various wetlands might enable detection of stresses such as pollutants in some. Monitoring of Pickersgill's reed frogs was done using acoustic recorders at 8 sites. The call data were analyzed by 3 students at the University of KwaZulu-Natal. The monitoring program needs to be further developed so that long-term quantitative data can be collected and long-term trends in population numbers detected. In terms of the action relating to translocations and reintroduction, the largest release of Pickersgill's reed frogs from captivity to the wild was carried out at 2 rehabilitated wetlands in November 2020. Preparations before release included conditioning the captive frogs for life in the wild and testing for parasites and chytrid fungal disease. Monitoring of the released frogs indicated some preliminary success. Some of the frogs were present at the release sites 1 month or longer after release. Monitoring of the released frogs is continuing this summer. In terms of this action, new distribution records for the species were captured into the biodiversity database of Exenvelo KZN Wildlife and included in the National EIA screening tool. Acoustic monitoring data and human social data arising from the implementation of the BMP are maintained by the Endangered Wildlife Trust. Educational and awareness outreach has been achieved this year through a variety of means as indicated in the slide. Thousands of people have been reached with information regarding the implementation of the BMP, and we hope that this will assist us in reaching the objectives and the goals of the plan. So where are we in terms of the achievement of the operational goals and actions set out in the BMP? This slide indicates that progress towards the achievement of the operational goals is generally on track. More progress is needed with respect to 3 of the goals, but these are long-term goals that may not be reached during this iteration of the BMP. This slide indicates the steady progress that has been made in the carrying out of the actions listed in the BMP. After the 5th year of implementation, the BMP is due to be revised. It is hoped that the implementation of the BMP during the 5th year continues along its current trajectory and even improves in the case of those actions that are currently lagging. Finally, we wish to thank everyone who assisted with implementing the BMP during this reporting year.